What's going on, everybody? I'm Jerry, and today we have my Week 16 picks going over every game this week, including what I believe is going to be a Super Bowl preview. The 49ers are taking on the Ravens. They're clearly atop of their respective conferences, and it seems like it's going to be a big week, because right now the 49ers are favored by 5.5 points. So that's going to be a big one. Stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into this Thursday night game, and this also a Christmas edition. Didn't fancy up the graphics at all, but we do have a Christmas edition. So the Saints Rams. I changed this one last minute. I had the Saints actually winning against the Rams, and I thought about it, and I was like, their offense is so high powered. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game because I haven't loved the Rams defense this year. So I actually had it 24-21, the Saints winning. But then I thought about how the Saints have been this year, and their past couple wins that they've got have been against teams that just aren't very good. So I'm taking the Saints in this one against the spread, but straight up I got the Rams winning 27-24. Next game we have Bengals Steelers. This one seemed very odd to me. I don't understand why the Bengals are only favored by 1.5. I don't know what they know about the Steelers coming up. If they think Mason Rudolph is going to be this difference maker so the offense can put up points, maybe he can. But I just don't believe in the Steelers anymore at this point. I thought even when they were winning games, it was always very close and very sloppy. So I'm taking the Bengals winning this one and covering that measly 1.5 spread, 21-13. Next we have the Bills Chargers. This one, the Raiders put up 63 points on the defense. So you have to assume the Bills are going to have a good day as far as offense goes. James Cook was able to just cook all last week. So I think the Chargers will probably put up some garbage time points again, but I think the Bills are going to dominate, and I honestly think plus 12.5 is too low for this game. But I got the Bills, 38-10. Next we have Browns-Texans. This is like the battle of the injured teams. Browns dealing with a lot of injuries. Obviously, as the weeks go on, players will get healthier, but we don't know if Stroud is going to play for sure, and that's kind of what's swaying me. We know Flacco's going to play. We know we can throw it to Amari Cooper and Njoku, and last week struggled running the ball against the Bears, but I think their run game still is pretty decent. Maybe they'll be able to run the ball a little bit better against the Texans, but with the question marks on the Texans, even though they did beat the Titans last week, who I don't believe are a very good team, the Browns also beat the Bears, who I don't think are a great team. So it's tough to pick this one, but it felt right to pick the Browns. So I'm taking the Browns 24-17, winning and covering the 2.5 point spread. Commanders Jets. I don't know. This seems like it's just going to be a shit bowl. The Commanders did hang in there with the Rams last week, but I think matchup-wise, I think that's why I have the Jets winning. If you look at the Jets' defense, I think they'll be capable of forcing some turnovers from Sam Howell and letting their offense stay in the game, whereas their offense isn't really very good at all, but they've showed certain weeks, they showed they're just very inconsistent on offense, and they can put up points, although scoring 0 last week against the Dolphins. But the Commanders have one of the worst defenses in the league, so you can only assume that the Jets are going to put up some points, and that's why I have them winning 17-3 against the Commanders, covering that 3-point spread. Next, we have the Seahawks Titans. I have the Seahawks winning this one. It's mainly because they just beat the Eagles. They're probably on their high horse. Titans probably want to win after, so I can understand why they would win. For them to be 2.5 point dogs at home, it was tough for me to pick that. I also think Derrick Henry is going to have more involvement. And we've talked about how the rushing team, or the team that rushes the ball more efficiently, is typically the one that's winning these games. And I think that would typically go to the Titans. But the Titans, Falcons, and Bears are all teams where that rule doesn't really apply. So, excuse me. I'm taking the Seahawks 24-21. Coming off a 3-point win, I think the Seahawks are going to do it again. Colts Falcons. This is another one. Why, like the Bengals Steelers, why are the Colts 1.5 point dogs to the Falcons, who just lost to the Panthers? Maybe they want a get-right game. I don't know if maybe I missed a big injury on the Colts or something, but I see no reason that the Colts, this is a real spread. The Colts are underdogs against the Falcons, who just lost to the Panthers. And the Colts just beat the Steelers, which, again, I don't think the Steelers are great either, but it was a 30-13 convincing win. They're going to put up points. Falcons did have a pretty good defense early on, but it's kind of been slipping. Obviously, played well enough, or not well enough, but they played well last week, only allowing 9 points. It was also against the Panthers. So I'm taking the Colts in this one, 31-17, covering that itty bitty 1.5 point spread. That just cracks me up. Packers Panthers. This one was tough too because I went back and forth on who I wanted to win because the Packers are another team that's just very inconsistent. They can blow out a decent team or they could lose to a bad team. So the Panthers just got their win. I still don't think their offense is very capable of putting up points, although the Packers defense hasn't been good in these recent weeks. And the Packers offense also has struggled. So I feel like I could be very wrong about this, and for some reason it could be a higher scoring game. But I think it could be a get-right game for the Packers defense, and it just seemed wrong to have them win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and because it's so low-scoring, I feel like in a lot of these lower-scoring games, the team will cover. So I think 17-14, 17-13, something like that is going to be the score for this Packers-Panthers game. Next we have the Lions-Vikings. This one, I really didn't know who I thought was going to win because the Lions were just on a losing streak, or maybe not a losing streak, but a bad game streak. And the Vikings just hung in there with the Bengals, who I think have actually played very well. So that's why I feel like it could be close. Minnesota's a very tough place to play. And so I think that could affect the Lions. I think the Vikings are going to force some turnovers. But I think it could even end up like the first Lions-Bears game, where the Bears are going to force some turnovers, but the Lions are still going to end up winning. So I have the Lions winning 28-27 in a nail-biter, but I don't feel great about it. Obviously not able to cover that spread, so the Vikings would take it against the spread, which I also don't feel super safe about. This one, Jaguars Buccaneers, I looked at the injury report, and seeing Trevor Lawrence not practicing and Beathard full participant makes me feel like Beathard's going to play, and that's why I have the Buccaneers winning, because I feel like the Jaguars defense has been pretty good, although struggling a little bit recently. I feel like the Buccaneers offense is just going to be able to score more than the Beathard-led Jaguars, and they're missing Zay Jones too, Christian Kirk. You still have Travis Etienne, but I feel like the Buccaneers' run defense can be sneaky good. So I'm taking the Buccaneers winning 17-14 in a low-scoring game, covering that 1.5 point spread. So they're getting straight up and against the spread in this one. Next we have the Cardinals Bears. This one was tough too because it seems like the Bears defense in the first three quarters is phenomenal. And then they get tired because the offense goes 3 and out so many times that the other team comes back. I don't think this is going to be one that the Cardinals come back from. And it would be, as a Bears fan, it would be great to see the Bears get a convincing victory. But they've shown nothing to prove that they can do that. I thought 4.5 was honestly like a lot of points. Like I thought this was going to be a -3. But, and you would think if I think that, why would I not have the Bears or the Cardinals covering the spread? But I'm taking the Bears in this one. I have a feeling they seem like a better football team to me. Might actually benefit them to lose this game with their first overall pick at jeopardy with the Panthers getting a win. Cardinals are only 1 game behind, same with the Patriots. But I'm taking the Bears in this one, 27-21, covering the 4.5 point spread. And I think with that, I think the Bears are going to be kicking some field goals in this one because they did not give Cairo Santos the opportunity he deserved last week. Cowboys Dolphins. This one was obviously it's another tough one. You got probably the second best NFC and the second best AFC team playing. Great how they plan that out. So props to the NFL for that. They got the top 2 teams and the second teams in each conference playing each other. So I took the Dolphins mainly because the Cowboys defense last week did not look good. And I feel like the Dolphins offense is going to be, they're so fast and they're tough to play against. I think the Miami defense has been very good in these, in recent history. So I think they'll be able to slow down the passing game with Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey. And therefore they're going to have to rely on Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle, which I don't think they're going to do great. I don't think the Dolphins' run defense is anything amazing, but the Cowboys are going to be relying on forcing some turnovers and getting pressure on Tua, and if they can't do that, I don't see any way that they win this game. So I'm taking the Dolphins winning 24-20, and what's a close spread, 1.5, so the Dolphins I do have covering in this particular game. Tempting to have the Cowboys as an underdog, though. Guess it happened last week and they didn't win, so what are you going to do? Patriots Broncos. We just talked about the Patriots. I think the Patriots defense is going to play well, and I think that's going to keep this game a little bit lower scoring. And again, talked about it earlier with a lower scoring game. I always feel like the spread, if it's a 6.5 point spread, there's more opportunity to cover. The Broncos just got completely blown out by the Lions last week. So I think they're going to need to win this game, especially with how close the AFC is. Patriots, I think, are going to fight, and I think they look better with Zappe, but I don't think they're good enough to beat the Broncos. So I have the Broncos winning 21-17, but I have the Patriots covering that 6.5 point spread. Next, we have the Raiders-Chiefs. This is kind of the same reason. You get a big spread. The Chiefs haven't really had a convincing victory, and they just beat the Patriots by only 10. So this week, I'm thinking Raiders scored 63 last week. Chiefs do have a good defense, but I think they're going to find ways to put up points and at least cover the 10-point spread, considering the Patriots could score 17. I feel like the Raiders could too. So I have the Raiders covering, but the Chiefs winning. Is still one of the better teams in the league this year, just a little bit sloppy as of recently, and actually most of this year. But Chiefs are winning 24-17. Raiders covering the 10-point spread. Giants-Eagles, this one, the Eagles don't win, they don't win convincing, they don't have convincing wins. They did beat the Dolphins very early on in the season. I think it was 31-17. But in this case, I just don't see it being, I think Tommy DeVito obviously had a bad week. I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to play well. The Eagles' defense really does stink this year. They're really not that good. So I feel like Tommy DeVito is going to be able to scramble around a little bit. They still have Saquon Barkley over there. I think the Eagles are going to put up a lot of points, but I think the Giants are going to put up a fight. And the fact that you could get 28-17 and still, get, if you're picking the Giants, I feel like you have to pick the Giants to cover in this game. I just think that's too much with how poorly the Eagles have been playing and how good the Giants have been playing despite, aside from last week against the Saints. But I got the Eagles winning still 28-24. I think some way the Giants cover the spread, whether it be scoring 24 or 17. I think that's how the game goes. This one was tough for me too, because why are the Ravens 5.5-point dogs to the 49ers? Do they really think that the 49ers are that much better? I could see why, especially with the Ravens having Mark Andrews out and being a little bit more difficult on offense, but they've still found ways to win and play well without him. Likely's been good. Zay Flowers has had his rookie struggles, but has been good as well. Ravens defense is still one of the top ones in the league. It is the Super Bowl preview, in my opinion. These are by far the favorites. They're the most complete teams. Obviously, any team can get hot in the playoffs, and somebody else can end up with a win. But as of right now, it looks like the Super Bowl preview, and I think the 49ers have just been more consistent, especially I think it's the past 6 weeks. They're on a 6-game win streak right now. They won 4 or 5. Then they had the three games that they lost in the middle, and then they just keep winning. So I think the 49ers do win, but I think the Ravens keep it close, find a way to at least slow down some of those weapons on the 49ers, and then cover with the 49ers winning 27-24. I think this is definitely a game where the 49ers could cover too, or the Ravens could even win the game outright. This one's a tough one to pick, but that's the final game of the week. We'll look at my all-season record. This past week I was 9-7, which isn't great. That's straight up. So I'm 131-92 overall. Against the spread, not a good week, 6-10, bringing me to 108-115. Would love to make it to even or positive before the season's over, but with only 2 weeks left, not looking great. And then the better rushing team each week, 11-5. So great week for them. As we said, consistently, whoever's having the more efficient running game is winning the game. In this case, it worked again. That team is now 150-73. Enjoy your in Christmas, your holidays, whatever you celebrate. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.